powered by easier health now, education now, pay later. Our guest for today's podcast is Hitesh Malhotra, an Ironman himself. Hitesh Ironman Triumphs and Ultra Cycling Ventures reveals the power, discipline, and determination. Hitesh has not only conquered Ironman Triathlon but also cycled his way to qualify for Race Across America. Let's tune in. Hitesh, when it comes to self-endurance sport, how were you first interested and what motivated you to participate in triathlons and the ultra cycling races?
So obviously I would need to rewind to 2015.
Okay.
So in 2015 we were blessed with a lovely daughter. Okay, and before that I did my MBA, started my corporate life. During the corporate life it was complete one-sided. It was just work, work, work. Yes, I was getting achievements in my work process, but in 2015, when for the first time I held my daughter in my hand, and at that time, I actually felt that I'm too huge for my daughter.
Okay.
You know, so that actually was the initial trigger, and then during the first couple of years of my daughter, I actually felt that I'm not able to keep up with her.
Okay.
You know, the energy that a kid has,
Right.
and the energy that I had at that time, I felt that I was not able to keep up with her. And also I was speaking to my wife that it's pretty routine life, it's like corporate life, work going good, by God's grace everything happening good, but something is not there still complete.
Okay.
And that's where she challenged me actually, that if you want to take up a challenge, you go ahead and do an Ironman.
Okay.
And just before that, obviously, there were certain articles in the newspaper where, some doctor from US did an Ironman, then Milind Soman did an Ironman. And so at that time, she just challenged me for doing an Ironman. And at that time, I was zero into sports.
Okay.
At that time, I was there in the college days, but at that time, it was completely off, disconnected. And then when she gave me a challenge, then obviously, she just challenged by registering my name into the Ironman race.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so you have already registered, because usually people do register almost a year before.
Right.
And so in the month of April, I registered for the race, and it was in March next year. And so there was this race without me being anywhere. And then when I started training for it, I realized the whole potential the endurance sport has.
Okay.
You completely keep on evolving yourself in the training process itself. So I think that was the trigger point where, because of my daughter, me not able to keep up with her energy, and obviously my wife, who gave me this challenge,
Right.
and the training process where I evolved myself, I think that's where I fell in love with the endurance.
Okay. So coming to your achievements, Hitesh, you've done multiple Ironmans and Olympic distance triathlons. Can you tell us the preparation which went in that after completing your first Ironman? What were the things you faced that you need to improve more?
Correct.
And which still needs to be tweaked?
Definitely.
So how did you manage that, and how did you identify in that entire process, and how did you train on that accordingly?
See, to be very honest, the best training session is the race.
Right.
Okay, because during your training, every single session is so much structured that you really don't know what's your true potential and what are the gaps that you have. You will come to know only when you actually put everything together in a race.
Right.
So whenever there has been, so if say for example, if I would have done a couple of Ironmans or multiple half Ironman, every single race will give you certain learnings.
Right.
You just keep on learning continuously. So to try and ensure that this race would be the better than the previous one, or at least you will feel better, because the feel is very important in an endurance sport. So when I did my first Ironman, I think I would have enjoyed the most. Okay, the reason is because at that time there was zero expectations.
Right.
And in the subsequent races, probably you have an expectation on you that you already have done this activity before, your training has been much more, so there is a better output expectation. So the first learning that I took from my second race was you shouldn't have overestimation, expectations from yourself. You don't need to. It's not that whether you have trained well or not. You would have trained well for sure. Unnecessary pressure that you put out yourself is really unasked for, unwarranted for. So that was the first learning that I did. That at times you forget that you have worked hard to enjoy the race,
Right.
and instead of enjoying, you actually put so much pressure on yourself. So the pre-race nerves and everything
Right.
just plays a lot. So that was the first. Second learning is the Ironman event is such a long event. Having like if you say just the 3.8 kilometer swim. So when I did it in New Zealand, it was a mass start. So when you say a mass start, you have all 1600 athletes together in the water,
Right.
and bang, you start. It's like a washing machine for first 400, 500 meters. You're getting kicks, you're getting hands, but you need to just pass that phase. It's just the initial phase. Like I said during the training session, also the first 1 month was very difficult. Similarly, in races also, you learn a lot of things that okay, the most important thing is you need to be calm. This is bound to happen. So the most important thing I learned was acceptance. That you need to accept that this is going to happen. It will phase out, and then you will come back in your own groove where you can then show your potential.
Right.
So you need to just go easy on yourself even then. Then there was another learning that I had, that you may feel that some activity of yours is your strength, and that's why you would be very confident on that, but that is where you are more prone to make errors as well.
Okay.
Because say for example, if hypothetically I consider running to be my weaker part, which as of now it's not. In fact, I'm enjoying running a lot more than cycling and swimming, which was never the case before. But you focus more on running, so you try to fill all the gaps that you assume there are. But because I was very much good in cycling and I love cycling, at times you neglect certain minute things that you need to focus on because you are overconfident about certain things.
Right.
So you need to treat all the sports or all the discipline at one par.
In an equal position.
Equal position, irrespective whether you are stronger or weaker. Yes, your training will differ.
Yeah,
The
right.
weaker, you need to work a little more.
Right.
But before the race, when you plan that where you need to take care of things during the race, you need to give equal weightage to all the sports that you are going into. And if you're going only for running, even at that time, never a sport is one sport, because it will always have nutrition attached to it. It will always have your mentalness, mental thought process attached to it. So even if you're going for just one sport, whether it's swimming, running or cycling, you will always have nutrition in your mindset as the other two sports attached to you. So that's what I learned, that you need to take care of everything. And nutrition plays the most important role in any race. Small race, bigger race, because I think during the later part of my race, I realized that okay, probably nutrition is something that I should have worked more upon now, because this being the first race of my life, where it was an Ironman sort of like first Ironman race. I felt that nutrition is something where I need to focus. So that was a huge learning that I took in my next race, because at that time it was more about okay, what you have read here, what you have read there. Nutrition is very specific to the individual.
Right. Everybody reacts differently.
And the amount of, say for example, sweat that one person
Right.
removes, the other person removes is different.
Right.
The amount of energy of one person utilizes, other person utilizes different. A body may absorb carbs differently, a body may absorb fat differently. So it's very specific, which you need to practice during your training, and then only you can't try something new.
On the event day.
On the event day. So I think these were major things that you need to, like what I learned during the first few races of my career. And also important part is you may have done something right in your first race, but probably you assume that you have not done it right. You don't do it in the second race, which actually becomes detrimental. Like so for me, my supporters are very important for me.
Right.
Probably when I will talk about my cycling race, I will tell you why those are important. So my wife and my daughter was there during my first race. During my second race, my dad was there. But somewhere, there was an advantage of my dad being there in the second race, but there was an advantage of my wife and daughter being in the first race.
Okay.
So,
Right.
so the whole thought process was very different, because during my second race, I think. So my dad was there throughout the race to support me and all those things, and he got sunburns and all, because Western
right.
Australia is the rise in the sun beats very differently than India, and so he got all those sunburn and everything, but he was still standing there for the. So you looking at him, you feel that okay, the pain that you're going through during the race is less, so that was an additional motivation. Plus, so there are a lot of learnings that happens.
That's great. So coming back to your first race which your wife registered, on completing that Ironman race, what were her expressions on you achieving what she wanted? Or how was that feeling which you had, when the first thought you had when you hold your daughter that you're not capable enough.
Correct.
So how did that change, and how did you experience that on completing that given task or a given challenge which was there in front of you?
Actually, so at the finish line, when I met my wife and my daughter, the look in their eyes, were like, okay, I've achieved something big.
Right.
Which is like, sorry, it just made me feel that okay, they are proud of me, and people close to you feeling proud of you is the best feeling that you can have, because that's what you want, right? Like, for example, my dad would want, or my mom would want, I to be proud of them. They will feel much more happy.
Right.
See, parents being proud of their kids is one thing, but kids being proud of their parent, especially when you're all grown up and you have your friends and everything, it's a different feeling altogether. So I felt the look in their eyes was they are too proud of me, and they were the ones who actually closely watched my struggle.
The entire journey.
Yeah. So, then when I was, say, at that time, 113 kgs, I still remember, for the first time when I rode cycle, it was hardly 5 kilometers here, okay? And in that 5 kilometers, almost I got a sunstroke. Okay, I bought a half-liter Mazda from a shop, and I drank all, because it was like the sugar went so low. And my wife knows that. From there to doing an Ironman event, where you cover 226 kilometers in total of 3 sports, and back to back at a stretch, with the weather which is very different throughout the day. You start off in a cold water swim where you wear the wetsuit, and then under sun you do the ride, and then in cold you again run, because we are not, at least I am not used to a cold weather. I'm more of a warmer weather sort of a person rather than a cold weather sort of. And there you're running at the same time shivering. So this whole journey, they have seen it. So the way, the proudness that they were showing in their eyes was like, I think one of the best feeling that I would have had till now. And the best part was my wife, my daughter telling me at that time that I also want to do an Iron, because Iron Man has Iron kids as well.
Okay.
And so obviously the distances are smaller, but that's how they want to promote the sport. In fact, we in Goa also, this year we had Iron Kids, where it was just the run for the kids a day before, but the whole euphoria so that the kids get connected with the sport. Motivated. Plus, we have work kids also. Bergman also had kids over there. So because of the event, she wanted to do that. So it was like the whole start of our culture getting changed at home began after I finished that. So
that's very important, I suppose, because the generation which is coming up with now, the influences they have, the food consumption which they have,
the exposure they have,
which
probably at times is good, at times is not good.
They do need to be fit. They do need to keep them. We need to keep them fit from the day when they are out, because we having junk has not affected us so much because we started at a later phase of our life. But when it comes to them, it's at an early stage, and that would be very difficult for them to come out. And that's very great, because the education system is also evolving accordingly nowadays, when it's giving more importance to sports. Just not as a PT activity, but also as the main. And they do promote the national level, the state level championships and everything which is there.
See, before the podcast, we were talking about the elite athletes and the amateur athletes. See, one of the major difference that probably if you ask me, although I was into sports, but that was more of a leisure sport, volleyball or hockey. That was more of a leisure sport. You are not into a structured training. So your body is never into that, phase where I was saying about the heart being the engine being set up. So the engine never got set up earlier. For elite athletes, right now for my daughter, if she's at this age already into sports, so she becoming an elite athlete for her, it would be relatively easy because there is a culture at home.
Right. And it would be very much, comfortable for her to develop her interest into that activity.
Correct.
And it would not be an alien thing that, okay, no one is doing, neither my parents, I should not opt, because if they are not doing, it's not that beneficial.
Plus the perks you get.
Exactly.
Because you do get perks. When I say perks, it's not necessarily materialistic.
Right.
It's like there are people who come and meet and they just want to have a discussion with us, is to know our journey and all the stuff, which gives them certain positive motivation for that day, because some people may have some tough times going through. And having a conversation where they see someone else's journey from a place where they were not comfortable to a place where now people look up to them, irrespective whether it's an elite athlete or an amateur athlete, because there are a lot of amateur athletes who have a fantastic journey of theirs. From a place like, I'm telling you, that 5 kilometers, I will never forget in my life the cycling that I did, that 5 kilometers. It was not at all speed, it was nothing, it was straight road, and I was just bombed. From there to this journey, where today if you tell me, okay, just go ahead and ride a 200k, I will ride a 200k without any specific anything. And that whole journey, many people have those journeys. So when people speak to them, or people probably hear such kind of a podcast, it's a positive, bit of push that they need. And you never know, because all people who are having a tough time today, if they push themselves, they will have a definite better future. And our mind plays a lot of tricks. So to deviate from that and to get into, it's like if I would like to say, there are n number of stories of people who actually endurance sports, or for that matter any sports, have actually saved their lives. Because there have been tough times for youngsters and all those stuff. You will have top athletes today representing n number of sports who at one phase were at a very bad time of their life. Whether you say drugs or whether you say anything of that sort. There are stories which are there live, and they're openly sharing all those things, because they say that triathlon has saved their life, and known athletes and all this stuff.
It's a transition which makes you self-disciplined and self-aware about what you require,
and you start loving yourself.
Exactly.
That's the best thing that can ever happen. If you love yourself, you're always right up there top. That's what it is.
That's great. Okay, coming to again your achievements, can you walk us through the experience of triathlon events in New Zealand and Western Australia? Also, what were some of the highlights and challenges you faced during those races?
I think in the Western Australia race, one of the challenge was during my bike leg, I lost my nutrition.
Okay.
So obviously at times you have certain bumps, or at times you don't even realize, but from your back pocket, because you wear a tri-suit, so you have a lot of nutrition of yours on your back pocket, and while removing one nutrition, if the other one fell. And nutrition is so important during your Ironman race, that any miss out, because it's a long activity and you need the energy to sustain, because you don't sit down and have a burger anywhere.
Exactly.
And those are sports specific nutrition. So I had dropped my nutrition, and probably out of 180 kilometers cycling, the second half 90 kilometers I was just without nutrition.
Okay.
Although there are 8 stations that give you the nutrition, all the stuff, but you have your own specific nutrition, own specific concentration of mixtures that you put, with respect to electrolytes, with respect to carbs that you have. And everything went for a toss, but at that time, you have to just push. When I started my run, I think, it was after 3.8 kilometers swim, 180 kilometer ride. When I started my run, it was a 42 kilometers run. After 10 kilometers, I was bombed. Okay. Now, when you say bombed, means you have zero energy. Okay, I was feeling like I'm having a blackout. The only reason is it's not the training was, everything was in place. The only problem was because of my not having any nutrition that I was planned for 90 kilometers. And it happened at such moment that, where I couldn't take my own nutrition, because there is a place where after 90 kilometers you have a special needs bag where you can keep your nutrition for the half midway. I had crossed that and I lost my nutrition. Had it been before that, I would have probably collected it because I had kept it over there. Additional ones. And then the last 32 kilometers were nothing physical. It was all mental thing, because I know that I can't give up, because if I give up, that sets an example at my place for my daughter that okay, dad has given up. That word, that was the only motivation that I had at that time to not give up. I think that last 32 kilometers, I literally had zero. I think I would have had roughly nothing but 8 to 10 times almost a blackout. And I was like, okay. Luckily, I had a good swim and a good bike, irrespective of the reason, that I had a lot of time to finish my run.
Okay.
So time was not a problem. The only problem was I need to stand. And my dad was there and he was cheering, because he was not expecting me to be in that position. But then he was aware, because I told him that, okay, I've lost my nutrition, so I don't know how will my body react, because when I started my run, but till 10 kilometers it was fine, but later on my body actually did bomb. And when you're bombed, even if you have food at aid station, you have watermelons, you have gels and all the stuff, your body won't accept it. You won't feel like putting anything because you're completely bombed. And so at that time, that whole 32 kilometers, I think that was the strongest mental side of mine that I would have had, because from a place, like there were 8-10 times where I got blackouts, where I was like, okay, I need to just sit. And it was very easy to just give up, go back and sleep.
It would be just a second
of it. And you get n number of times those thoughts.
And you get those reasons also.
क्या है बॉम्ब को मैं बोल सकता हूँ यार कि nutrition गिर गया था, it's not my fault and all those stuff. And it's just that if I would have taken that call, that regret would have been throughout my life. And the fear of you having that regret for the comfort of only this now is too difficult, that you want to give up. It makes it difficult. You said no, you just push. In fact, I still remember me telling my dad that in case you don't see me, because it was a 10-kilometer 4 loops, 10.5 kilometer 4 loops, and he was standing there. I said, in case you don't see me in any of the loops, go to the emergency. Either I'm in an ambulance or I'm still walking or running, whatever it is. But so I was ready to actually pass out completely without me knowing it, because then it's beyond my control if I completely pass out. So this was also I think
he might have panicked.
He definitely did panic, but he somewhere knew that, because he has seen me training, and the pain that one goes in the training makes you stronger for the race. So I think, probably if my dad wouldn't have been there, I wouldn't have finished. And probably if I did not want it, or it wouldn't have crossed my mind that if me giving up would give that message to my daughter, I think I would have given up. But because of these two reasons, I did not. And that was one of the toughest part of my life. But I was very proud of myself when I finished mine, that I did not give up. It was horrible. But I think that was the strongest mental side of me that I would have ever faced, even till now.
And that would have prepared mentally also, that even if you don't have nutrition, if you can do 32 kilometers.
Yes. But then it made me plan better.
Exactly.
Because you would not want to go through that again.
Right. You survived those blackouts, but it's not always nice.
Touch wood, but post that, it has never happened. Because I think I gave nutrition almost 5 times the importance that I would have given till that race. Is that way. So now, nutrition is something that I think first, even during the training, like while coming over here also, I had an electrolyte bottle in my car itself. Because you have done a good amount of workout in the morning, and then you need to replenish. It's not for that workout, it's for the workout tomorrow.
Right.
Recovery is very important. So nutrition, I think that particular race made me realize that nutrition is far more important than any of the others.
Okay. So let's speak on nutrition part itself. How do you manage your nutrition, and how important is micro and macro nutrition for you when it comes to long distance triathlons and cycling?
Correct. So To begin with, if you say, to begin with, one need not give too much of minute thinking to all these things. First we need to see holistically. That's how the transition happens. Once you gain some knowledge, then you go into depth and depth and depth. Initially, if you go into depth, you will walk out.
Exactly, because that would be very difficult for
too much
you.
difficult. So holistically is what one needs to go. Like for example, today, when I say today, it's like this time. My nutrition would be very, if I have to guide someone, it would be very holistically saying that reduce the artificial sugars. Okay, that's what I do. Have sugar. I have jaggery. I may have even artificial sugar like the white sugar in my coffees as well. But when you say sweets, try to avoid fried. This is because when you start, you don't say someone just go ahead and skip all the good foods that you feel they are good, because they are good, they are tasty, definitely. You would love to have chaat and all those things, but so you can't just say just leave everything. The first and foremost thing is reduce the artificial sugar, reduce the fried. In fact, I would say you can skip the fried.
Right, it's not necessary.
Because we don't know which oil is used outside.
Exactly.
Second, even if it's a good oil outside or at home, the quantity matters, but when you eat something tasty, it's very tough to restrict. Because you're in the beginning phase of your nutrition, you should not get into that choice of whether I will eat little or more. You'll end up eating more.
Right.
That's how it is. So better you avoid it. Chaat, you need to avoid it. This and the most important thing is when you eat is important. Like there is intermittent fasting and all those things, which actually works in my personal opinion.
Okay.
Like I usually don't eat anything before 10 a.m.
Okay.
Even if I have a workout and all.
Okay. So you don't have anything before your workout as
No,
well?
I don't usually have things for my workout. In training, in races, I do have it.
Okay.
And it depends the amount of workout that you're going to do. If any workout is less than 2 hours, then I don't think I need a specific nutrition apart from the electrolytes that I have during the workout. Before that, I usually don't. Anything more than 2, yes, definitely you will have at least an energy bar or probably a banana. And that at least 2 hours before you start your workout. So if someone wants to start, they need to start very easy, holistically. Just these 4-5 things. Once you leave these things, immediately your body, probably in 3 weeks time or 4 weeks time, would react positively to it.
Okay.
Would react positively, and you won't feel also that you're sacrificing a lot. And once you are there, then it's important to count roughly. I'm not saying minutely the number of calories that you have. Right? It's very useful if you can minutely calculate calories, but if you don't, to begin with, you don't need to. You just need to have a rough estimate of the calories that you eat. Yes, definitely whenever I eat something, I do see what is the amount of calories, because in back of the mind, I know that in a day I will burn an active calorie count of 1500 and by default my body will burn around 1800 calories, so I have a buffer of 3.5 or 3000 calories to be utilized. So anything below 2.5 is good enough for me. But then this is a generic one. But when a sports specific person, you will see that person have a huge amount of calories, because if I have a long workout, I will have calories.
Because you're going to burn.
Burn, and I need energy to sustain that long workout.
And you have to recover also.
Correct. Perfect. So someone who's already into that initial stage, subsequently they need to have a rough estimate of calorie count. Without calorie count, it's very tough to actually say that you're good at nutrition. It's that. But most importantly, once you are into the second phase, initial 1 month is done, you need to be a little stricter with yourself that what you eat, when you eat. It's very important, because you having a dinner at 10 o'clock and sleeping at 10:30, 11 is the worst thing in my opinion that one can do. Okay. Having your dinner before 7 o'clock or max 8 o'clock is the best thing you can do if you want to sleep at 10:30, 11.
Okay.
That's how it is. Aerated drinks, it's not good. It's just a fact. It's not good in my personal opinion, because when I have left those things, you don't realize it unless you leave that. Okay, your body will positively change into something. So those things you need to really take care of it. Now, someone who's specific for sports, it's very important to first understand that what are you going to do tomorrow.
Okay.
and what is there day after tomorrow as well. So that you plan your food even today. Like if it's a long workout, you need energy for that. You can't say that, okay, I need to lose weight so I don't have calories intake. No, that is completely wrong. You need calories for energy. So you need to eat appropriately for a good workout tomorrow, as you rightly said, for recovery tomorrow, for the workout day after tomorrow.
Right.
So that is very important and interesting. As in sports endurance, you need to know which, for example, if you're doing an endurance activity, you need gels, you need electrolytes. So which gel is good for you? Which electrolyte suits you? Because certain people will have an upset stomach if they have incorrect electrolytes. In sports, if you're not used to gels, you will definitely have a bad gut.
Right.
You know,
and all this needs to be, tried in the training process.
You need to get used to it.
Right.
They should be part and parcel of your, daily training that's there. You should be so comfortable that you won't even think about your gut getting upset.
Right.
It's very simple. In an endurance event, any 12 hours, 13 hours event, like during my cycling days of 30 hours, I was on gels majorly.
Okay.
Electrolytes was there. Unless I get used to that, my gut would have never accepted that.
Right. It would have an adverse effect.
Definitely. Plus caffeine. Now, I am a personal believer that caffeine helps.
Okay.
But obviously, everything in a good quantity helps.
Exactly.
If you have an over, caffeine, then that's not good because your body will get used to caffeine to activate your brain. That's it, which should not happen. But then caffeine definitely helps. But you need to again get used to it because caffeine will play with your gut for sure. Like in the morning before the race, just before the start, if you're not used to caffeine and if you end up having a caffeine gel or a coffee just because your friend is doing it or this way, you'll have to run to the washroom.
Okay.
That's all it is. So again, everything needs to be very well planned during your trainings. Get used to it, then the race will happen. But if you say that no, I will not have gels, I will not have this, it's very difficult to find alternatives for a longer event because you can't carry so many bananas.
Exactly.
You can't carry, like khajur or jaggery in a race because obviously they are in quantity. They are good, no doubt about it. But the problem is
the
gels,
carrying it.
yes,
Right.
gels, the energy bar, they are easier to carry during the race. Is a way. When you're at home, you can definitely have a mixture of these things and that.
Because that's handy for you. You need not have that much of
Correct. So yeah, I think that is very important. Plus, I also believe that protein is very important for recovery.
Right.
People usually, when they start workout or they enter into sports, if an inappropriate quantity of protein is done, you are prone to muscle breaks that can happen. So whenever you do a workout, your muscles will break.
Right.
Because you are hammering your muscle at that time. But they will immediately recover also if you give them the proper energy, resources that they want.
Okay.
So after my workout, I usually within 15 to 20 minutes I have a protein shake. Okay, which usually has 31 grams of protein in it. And then during my diet, I ensure that I have a good protein diet. Whether it is, so I eat egg.
Okay.
I used to eat chicken as well, but my daughter said not to eat chicken. So I left chicken, but then you compensate with egg. And obviously you can have soya. You can have tofu. You can have paneer. So our Indian food is the best, in my personal opinion. Does that you need to know which gives you protein because you need to have a protein-rich diet for recovery. There's no doubt about it.
That would be a smooth recovery process, protein intake.
Yes, see protein, it's like if my weight is 75, I would need 75 grams of protein a day.
Okay, so that's equivalent to your body weight.
That's the most simplest way of thinking it. So
Okay.
you can reach 75, if not at least 60 is what I should target. Because it's not easy that you won't end up eating 12 eggs or something of that sort of. So that's where the protein shake really helps. But yeah, I would prefer a protein shake than a protein bar or sort of thing. But yeah.
So that would be for
Protein is very
you.
important.
Okay. So coming to the race across America and the Deccan Cliffhanger,
Correct.
how did you train for those two events? And can you share your experience of completing those 642 kilometers cycling under 31 hours?
So Race Across America is a race which is almost 5,000 kilometer race in the US. It's not an auto qualifier. You can't have an auto entry.
Okay.
So I haven't done that. I have the time to do it till 2024. But
Okay.
I did that race 2023 this year end because I did it in 21 November, that particular race. So for that you need to qualify.
Okay.
There are very few people who have till now qualified for Race Across America, and very few who have actually done from India. And again, there is an association, Inspire India, who conducts such events in India wherein people can actually qualify for ultra cycling.
Okay.
And so they had this race, Deccan Cliffhanger, which is a 642 kilometer race from Pune to Goa, where you cover almost roughly 5,500 meter of elevation, and it's non-stop almost. It's almost non-stop. So your time is ticking. Even if you go for a washroom break, the time is ticking.
Okay.
Even if you take a break for just 10 minutes of food, it is taken. Like the time is calculated.
Okay.
So the cutoff they have was 36 hours for men and 38 hours for female. And if you want to qualify for Race Across America, you had to finish within 32 hours. That's the whole deadline.
Okay.
And so that 32 number is always there in your mind because you want to qualify for Race Across America. Now, during this race, when I started my training, I think one of the best things that I did in my career of sports was to have a coach specific to triathlon or cycling.
Okay.
See, even if, say for example, I coach someone, necessarily doesn't mean that I can have a self-coach done to me.
Exactly.
Okay. It is very advisable that you have a coach, even if you know you can coach others well. It's very tough to coach yourself. It's very tough to discipline yourself to do all those
We might
things.
be lenient to ourselves.
One lenient, and at the same time, you don't have the time. You don't want also that you think about yourself. You want someone who's competent enough to give you workouts the way you give to others.
Okay.
You know, so at that time I got in touch with Mr. Ragul. He's from Chennai.
Okay.
And so he's been coaching me even till now.
Okay. So that's virtual coaching?
It's virtual coaching.
Okay.
And because see, the main part of coaching is it's better if someone is there with you physically, but even if it's not there, it's important for someone to tell you what you need to do today, what you need to do tomorrow.
Okay.
You know, and every single minute of your session, how it is. You know, when you're cycling, what is the power you're putting in? Or if you are swimming, then what are the intervals? You know, how, like we were talking about the breaths that we need to take in swimming. So all those things, it's better if someone, you know, in spite of you having the knowledge, tells you what you need to do. So I got in touch with him, and he was training me for triathlons, but because of COVID, obviously the events were not happening in triathlon. But this event was obviously there in the pipeline in 21, and cycling being my passion, the most loved sport among the three sports that I do, was like, okay, I need to do this. So I started training, and I think the whole journey of training was very different because I used to just go for 400 kilometers training rides.
Okay.
You know, you start in the morning, ride for 400 kilometers, come back in the home, then next day again go for 400 kilometers or 200 kilometers or 300. So it was like you just keep on cycling so that your body gets so used to, that you know, you actually end up eating also on cycling the way, like I still remember when I'm doing cycling at home with the session, it was like, okay, I'm having my rice on the cycle pedaling. Obviously you pedal slow.
Right.
It's more about just, you know, the muscle getting used to for longer hours. So you just keep on doing all those activities. So you need to train for all those things. And the most important thing you need to train for such ultra cycling race is your mind.
Okay.
Because to be on the cycle in the same position for 30 hours and you know, under heat, like doing the race, so it was very different. I'll tell you the whole journey of the race, but you know, weather changes in the morning, afternoon, evening, then night, then you know the wind changes and you have to just keep on pedaling. So the mental strength that you require is huge. So you need to train. You know, like at home on the trainer, you spend hours and hours just looking at the handlebar. You know, you are in the aero position, just there, keep on cycling. completely disconnected. To be in that position for 6, 7, 8 hours at one stretch, just go for the loop break and that's it. And that too also you plan that okay, I can't take it well. So
Right.
everything is planned, nutrition is planned. To be in that monotonous position for so long, you need to train your mind. So yeah, the training part, took place. And when the race started in the month of November, so somehow it was a focus of rain. And luckily, one of my friend's son saw the weather and he told us that
It's gonna rain.
it's gonna rain. Otherwise, we
Okay.
were not expecting rain in the month of November. The race was somewhere around 20th November. It was not expected. But just because a week before he said about that, so we checked the weather, it's rain, so we prepared,
Accordingly.
our dressing and all those things. And when the race started, I think everything was going smooth till the night time. So it started around 5 o'clock in the morning, and in the evening, around 350 kilometer mark, the weather changed.
Okay.
It became too cold. And but while you were riding, you never felt anything. But as soon as, because you need to plan your power naps as well at night,
Right.
because if you don't sleep at all, it's really tough. So when I took a power nap of just 15 minutes, and post that, as soon as I came out of the car to again start my riding, the whole body started shivering.
Okay.
And that was the case almost, I think, with many of the athletes, because we never expected the
So
rain
much
and the
of
wind
cold,
to
right.
affect. And while we were riding, our body was heated up, so we never felt.
Right.
As soon as I took that 15-minute nap, the whole body temperature fell and I started feeling so cold. I think I took half an hour more just because I was so scared to go out of the car, because it was very cold. Like
Okay.
it was just beyond the control that can happen at that time. Because whenever we trained in the keeping in mind that it's going to be hot.
Okay.
So we used to climb ghats at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon
Because
to get
gonna be
used to
so,
the heat.
Right.
And this actually came as a surprise that okay, this was there. But then I think the best decision that I took during that race was my crew. So this is a crew supported race, okay, where you can have 1 or 2 cars with you, where you can have 3-4 members that you select in the car who will help you with the nutrition and everything, because it's a 30-hour journey, so obviously you can't carry everything with them.
Exactly.
So usually when you plan, you say okay, you need one physiotherapy in the physiotherapist in the class, in the crew, or you may have a bike mechanic in the crew, and someone who's interested in cycling, or someone who's done this event in the route and all the stuff.
Okay.
But the person that I am, you need to know what is your strength and what you would require when you feel low. So I took a decision of my crew that I did not have any bike mechanic, I did not have any physiotherapist. I only had 3 people in my car: my wife, my brother, and my wife's brother.
Okay.
All these 3 are not bike mechanics. My wife is into triathlons, but not the endurance triathlon like of 600 kilometers and all that stuff. And majorly it was okay, they need to just give me my nutrition when I require. That was the only plan. Everything else
That was the mental support.
that was the mental support, because I needed my comfort. I needed people in front of whom I can actually
Open
do anything.
And you can open up if you have any.
Exactly. I don't need to think about my image. I don't need to think about what people will think.
Yeah.
You during these events, at times when you're so low, you don't even realize that you're doing something which probably someone with other person may feel awkward about. To be very honest. And those are all practical things. So I just wanted my comfort zone to be there, and that is why I had that crew. All my well-wishers and friends who were there they were like, why are you doing this? You need at least one bike mechanic, which is absolutely right. I should have had a bike mechanic, but at that time, considering what I felt that I was needing at that time was more of the comfort that I required, the emotional push. I think that is why when I was feeling this cold and scared to move out of the car also, because those 3 were there, I was not scared to tell them I think I should just stop the race here.
Okay.
And because it was too hard. And then my brother said, Bhaiya, you can do it. If you can't do it, I don't think anyone will be able to then restart it. The confidence that they showed in me, I was like, I think, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking this race? No, I should think, that I can do it. And then I started riding, and you won't believe, when I started riding, the entire body is shaking, and I'm still riding aise karke. But then obviously once you get into the groove,
the body starts heating again.
yes, it was just that 5 minutes that you needed, that you should ensure, like in the race of Ironman, take a step. So then when I took that 5 minutes, I think post that, for the balance 250 kilometers, I wouldn't have stopped at all.
Okay.
Just kept on going, and yes, then I finished the race well within the cutoff and qualified for Race Across America. I think so. You need to know what's your strength and what you need when you're the lowest.
Right.
So in all my races, I have my family members very much attached with them.
I guess they are the one who pushed you to it, and they are
They
the
are the
motivation
ones, yes.
pack for you
Correct,
for
correct,
all your
correct.
races. Great. So talking about the challenges which you faced during the long distance races, how do you cope up with that in terms of the technical challenges, or the bike going out, or you might not carry that much the nutrition thing which happened.
Correct.
How do you manage to cope up when you are in that race? You would of course require things around.
Correct.
So how do you manage those things?
One is that you need to be calm.
Okay.
You are, and second, as I told again, you are bound to face all these things. So you need to have the acceptance factor as well.
Right.
It's not just you who's going to feel this.
Right.
Everyone probably during, even elite athletes, if you have, in fact, there are a lot of good interviews that these people give, like even the great marathoners also who probably finish a full marathon in under 2 hours as well, the top athlete. They will always say that during their journey they will have at least 1-2 instances of going low because you're too much into this and then high.
Right.
For a longer endurance athlete, I'm saying. So acceptance is important. So I think whenever I face any of these things, it's like, don't leave the focus because you know what's your goal. Accept that there are going to be highs, capitalize on it. There are going to be lows. Just keep pushing yourself and focus on the goal. I think that was the only thing that I probably did. And obviously have people around you who can push you to do that, because like say for example, if my nutrition went off in Western Australia, I think I know that the goal is there.
Right.
I can't deviate from the goal. Even if there is low, okay, just like you don't have energy, but just take one step more. Okay, take one step more. Okay, take one step more. Just keep on taking one step. You won't even realize that you've actually taken thousands of steps.
Right.
And yeah, so just accept that it's happened. It's okay. The goal is there. Focus. Just move forward. That's the only thing.
So it's just the inner.
And learn and plan it for the next time. That's the
Right.
most important thing. It's stupid enough that you keep on facing all these things. If it's a
Again.
new thing, it's understood. But if you keep on facing, because all these things actually learned. If my recent 4 races I would consider, I think those races would be one of the best in planning wise. Everything has been planned because you have learned a lot of things during your earlier races.
Right.
Is that way. So don't be harsh on yourself, accept at that time, but then learn. Don't make the mistake again and again. That's
Again going to affect you.
That doesn't make sense, right? So yeah, if you don't learn, then it's a different thing. But you learn from it, be calm, don't be harsh on yourself. Learn and utilize
People
that
do
learning.
tend to be very harsh and have that, very short
Correct. People leave
duration
sports,
for
right?
them. Yeah, exactly.
It's like people leave sports. Like for example, I don't know whether you have a question on injury or not, but at times injury is also part of someone who's into sports.
Yeah.
Everyone, will have a small or a big injury because you push your body to the limit.
Exactly.
And at times you go little overboard. Your body may be fit enough for a high level of fitness or high level of output, but because you want to push your output to a next level, there's a possibility you will go beyond this.
Right.
If you go beyond this, it requires just a second for you to get injured. That's it. You won't even, today you're so strong, immediately next moment there could be an injury. It's beyond your control. Even if you plan it is bound that it can happen. So at times, because of injury, people actually leave the sport completely without even going for a try. That obviously injuries happen. Take a pause.
Right.
That's the best thing that you can do in your life. Take a pause and then continue again.
Also, there are many return to sports centers which help, you
Yes.
know, in the recovery phase
Correct.
and coming back to that regular
Correct.
routine of the. So
Correct.
people should take assistance
Definitely.
of that.
One of the things that people should do is be comfortable enough to share that you are
Exactly.
injured. Be comfortable enough to share that I did not had a good run. It's okay. You can't have a good run every day.
And you need to accept things which
Exactly.
are, you know, which has happened.
Correct.
So it's, I'm like, we cannot do anything on what has happened, but we can anytime rectify on what's going to come.
Correct. See, we understand it hurts.
It does.
It hurts, and at times
Mhm.
people say that, you know, how did this happen to me? I had to take care of all these things. And there are a lot of good people around who are very knowledgeable and they are aware about their field, like sports physio specifically, you
Right.
say, or for massagers, you know, because all these things are part of your recovery, whether it's from injury or to ensure that you don't get injured.
Right.
You know, to the extent that okay, you have to take a pause. Injury will happen. At least that injury should be a small one, so you need to take care of certain things. Which so yeah, you need to share and you need to approach people. If you approach people, people will guide you properly.
Right.
It's that.
And that
Because
would be an easy phase of recovery.
otherwise, you will run left, right, left, right, left, right, but not
You'll be
reach
left
to the
clueless,
place where
right,
you need
right,
to reach.
right.
Exactly. So if you ask people, people will guide. It's simple.
Right. So coming back to your Deccan Cliffhanger,
Yeah.
the cold temperature. So when you're practicing and there's a different climate in which you are training yourself, and when it comes to, you know, a different climatic
Correct.
change
Correct.
on that event day, might be a sudden climate increase or climate drop.
Correct.
How do you manage, or what precautions can be taken to manage with those climatic changes? Because that's in North Africa.
Correct. Correct.
So how do you manage, or what would you recommend people to take care when it comes the climatic changes will happen?
First is before the race. So like August, I have IRONMAN Kalmar. You know, so when I started my training specific for that Ironman race, I went and saw what usually is the weather in August.
Right.
You know, and then keeping that in mind, at least things which are in your control, you can plan. So you train for things like in November we never expected it to rain. So we saw the weather. Usually it is, you know, 35, 36 degrees during the day at that time when you're riding on the national highway from Pune to Goa. And so we trained specifically for things which were in our control and knowing what's going to happen more likely. So you train that, you see what is going to be the weather. Second, you need to also see is that what all things you need to prepare with respect to stuff that you want around you. Okay, if the temperature is very hot, you would require more amount of electrolytes.
Right.
If the temperature is cold, then the number of electrolytes would reduce. It's very simple. So you need to train for keeping that in mind. At times, you have a race in rainy season, but then you're training in the summer or cold weather, you can't. Then you need to, what do you say, like for example at home, if it's a cold weather race, I have a strong AC around me when I'm running on the treadmill. Like literally, you can feel that okay, I've entered the room and suddenly too cold, and then you start running because you try to make the weather around you in your own small space similar to what you will feel on the race day, even if outside it's a different thing, and it's all doable. If it's not doable, say for example, you don't have an AC or anything or that sort of, then you need to not train during when there is a sunrise or a afternoon time or something. You pick up that time during the day where you will have at least not the heat factor. You can't bring cold naturally, but then at least closer to it is don't train in heat. You know, that's those things you need to plan. And if in case something happens on the race day which is beyond your control, like here is beyond your control, you don't need to stick to your nutrition then.
Okay.
See, when you say you need to adapt, you need to spontaneously adapt. Like if I'm getting tired and I still continue to go with the run pace that I have planned,
Right.
then I will actually end up at a what is slower speed than what probably I would have. If at that moment you feel little low, you need to also adapt to the position that you are in and change your plan accordingly. You can't be very rigid about your plan.
It should be instant.
Instant, yes. You need to adapt. Same way here, when I say you don't need to continue with your electrolytes or planning, because if it's cold weather, if you continue to have the same amount of fluid that you would at 35 degrees and then you're going to have it at 15 degrees, the same amount of fluid, it will take a toss on your body.
Right.
So you need to then adapt at that time and see what changes you need to make. For example, if it's cold weather, suddenly that's happened, then the number of electrolytes would reduce. The number of water intake would reduce.
Yeah, right.
At the same time, in heat, your body will tell you to drink.
Right.
But in cold, your body may not tell you to drink, but still you need to drink.
Right.
May not be the amount that you need to at heat, but you need to also ensure, no, I need to read. Although I'm not feeling thirsty because of the weather, but I need to drink because inside your body will need.
Yeah, because that is burning out.
Correct. It may not be, say, 1 liter in per hour at that time, but at least you would need 500 ml 1 hour, even if it's cold. But may not be 1 liter.
Right.
So that adaptive, you can't say just because it's cold and you're not tired, you will not have water only. So then you will obviously have issues next hour. So you need to adapt all of those things.
And it should not be drastic.
No drastic.
No drastic steps.
No drastic steps.
Yeah.
You are right. You are absolutely right.
Okay, great. So, learning to your achievements, you secured second place in your age category under the masters category at the stage level cycling under the Cycling Association of Maharashtra.
Correct.
So, what has been the key to your success in these competitions? And
See, actually, these are shorter distances races, and there the athletes are having a very good level of fitness in cycling specific, because those are cycling specific sports. In triathlon, you focus on all three sports, so you need to have a balance of all three sports. Like, for example, in an Ironman, the top elite athlete will run a full marathon in 2 hours 30 minutes or 2 hours 35 minutes. That's a record. For a marathoner, 2 hours is the record. 1 hour 59 minutes is the record for full marathon. So you can't compare both these things. But then when there are athletes who train with specific athletes of that field, a triathlete will train if they want to improve their cycling performance with cyclists.
Right.
A runner will be ideal for someone who's a triathlete who want to improve their running efficiency to train with a runner. Yes, there is the structure of workout would be different, but just having those people around and competing with them or competing with someone who's better than you in that field will obviously also increase your level of performance. So keeping that in mind, I think that is why I registered for the races, which is very well organized by Cycling Association of Maharashtra. And when so those races, you know that you're not going to be there right up there, but then because you're competing with these people who are far more better than you, your performance definitely scales up. Definitely, the way they train, you learn, and then you execute. And I have seen a huge amount of improvement in my cycling just because I wanted to train for them, for those events. Fearing that I shouldn't be left out too much because that will hit my confidence. So when you train for those specific things, the result is good. So that's actually what's...
Okay. So coming to the entire Ironman journey, when it comes to selection of the sports items, like your cycle, gears and equipment.
Correct.
How do you select your gears and equipment and what are criteria in selecting one?
So specifically for swimming, you don't have much of the gears, right? Because that's one sport where your gear is nothing but your swim goggles, your swim cap, a earplug if you used to, and obviously your swimming attire. But in the race, you anyways just have a tri-suit, which is there for all three sports. But then in swimming is one sport, which is the first sport where you start with the max energy. You can actually utilize huge amount of energy in swimming itself, which would be decremental for cycling and running. So your attire, like for example, if it's a cold weather swim, you have a wetsuit. So you need to get used to your wetsuit. Now, your wetsuit is very thick material of neoprene. If you're not used to it, you will suddenly feel restriction in your arm movement. It will help you with your buoyancy and make you more probably horizontal to the surface, like to the water level. But at the same time, if you're not used to the wetsuit, so your shoulder restriction will happen because it's very thick at that place. So you need to get used to it. So to have a correct size of wetsuit,
Okay.
you need to try that. You need to have people who will guide you how to wear a wetsuit. Trust me, wearing a wetsuit can tire you a lot if you don't know how to rightly do it.
Okay.
So like for example, when first time anyone who tries to wear a wetsuit would be full sweat by the time they wear it, and
Okay.
it's very tough to wear it.
Okay.
Okay. So you need to, so starting with swim itself, you need to get one used to what you're going to wear, and with the wetsuit you need to know the technique. So you need to again seek guidance from people. They will guide you what is the proper way of using a polythene bag for that matter, which really helps you to wear the wetsuit.
Okay.
Then your swim goggles is the most important in swimming, because in swimming when you're doing long distances in water it's tough to sight.
Okay.
Okay, because when you're running or cycling you can just look.
Right.
In swimming you're breathing your right or to the left and the buoy is right in front. So the technique of sightseeing is, so if you don't have appropriate goggles, like I have a specs, but you can get power goggles as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's
so I wear a power goggle.
Okay.
But the problem with goggles that happens is, one, you may have scratches, which you should not in the race. Second, it gets foggy. So you need to ensure that you don't use an old goggle which is already fogged. People use an anti-fogger over there, but you need to be very careful use that anti-fogger, because you're talking about your eyes. Because if there's a water over there and the anti-fogger, your eyes may have an irritation. So again, you need to plan all these things. So for me, obviously I have a power goggles that I use, and I have kept two goggles. One is specific for my training and one is specific for my race. So for the race, the goggles is very appropriately there. Then coming to cycling, very important that whether you are a cadence rider or you are a strength rider. When you say a cadence rider, it's the number of repetitions that you do in cycling. So if you are someone who's around 85-90, then the cassette, as in the gear ratio that you need to select, should be appropriate, where you are able to ride at the 85 RPM. Similarly, if you are a strength rider where you usually ride around 65-70 RPM, then accordingly your gear ratio should come into picture, because your cadence won't be high.
Right.
So depending upon what strength you have or what type of rider you are there, it's important. Very important that what attire, tri-suit you wear in a cycling. Because cycling, when you're on the saddle and you are in the aero position, if the attire is not appropriate and the bike fit is not appropriate, sitting on the saddle for 5 hours, it will take a big hit for obvious reasons, right? Because that's where the friction will happen, right? And if you don't have an appropriate lubricant, appropriate attire, appropriate bike fit, it will be a very bad phase in cycling. So you need to again use and get a help from someone who can guide you with the bike fit. Okay, guide you with the bike fit, and then you can see what attire you will be wearing and comfortable in with that bike fit. When I say bike fit is because we are in that aero position. People try like, okay, they are usually riding this way, okay, in the vertical, the way we ride a bike is up. And cycling, suddenly they will go here. It's so much cramped over here.
Exactly.
So directly you can't come here. Even if you have maximum flexibility in your body, still you can't directly come here. It's not advisable. Gradually coming to a decent level where there is a balance between comfort and the power that you can push in your cycling. Okay, so you need to get in touch with a professional bike fitter if you can. If not, someone who's experienced enough, take a guidance and then come down to that level where you have the utmost comfort with a good amount of power that you can exert, and that is your position, then you work on it. It's advisable that every 6 months, if not at least in 9 months, that you revisit your position, because when you're riding in that position for 6-9 months, and if you're comfortable, you can still go a little aggressive post 6 to 9 months, because your body is getting used to it.
Right.
But minute changes is advisable, no drastic changes.
Okay.
So that is very important. The bike fit, the gear ratio depends upon this thing, the attire that you wear, and also important thing that one needs to understand is what type of helmet you're going to wear.
Right.
If it's a hot race, people end up wearing aero helmets. Aero helmets don't have much airflow happening for obvious reason. They don't want it to happen because it's an aero helmet. You will sweat more. So if it's a long cycling event, you need to, if it's a hot weather, the helmet should be very airy, at the same time obviously taking safety into the picture, but there are a lot of airy helmets you need to wear. You can't be wearing an aero helmet in a very hot weather if it's a long race. For a short race, and if you have trained for it, that's not a problem. Secondly, if it's a cold weather, obviously you need to understand, just because someone else is just wearing a tri-suit, you will also do it. If you shiver, that's it, because you will not be able to put power in your legs. So again, with the weather, you need to see what you're going to wear. If there is an extra layer that you need to wear, please, arm sleeves, please do that. Calf sleeves, please do that, because those things, again, one, you need to use it in the training, get comfort with it. Second, it's very weather specific. So that takes care of the cycling part. Then when you talk about running, people usually, runners talk about pronation, underpronation, supination. You have an ITB issue, this thing issue. It is bound to happen, because running is a place where you are going to put a single leg taking whole power, weight of your body. At the same time, you're pushing from the same leg as well. We need to understand that if you're not someone, like for me, I was not a runner since my childhood. Okay, but today, if I can run appropriately, is because strength and conditioning is very important. Your body posture is very important. In running, if you don't have an appropriate body posture, all these things will happen.
Right.
Okay, so you should not just directly go into running, longer runs and all the stuff. First and foremost is you need to have a good body posture. For that, you can have mobility related workouts that you need to do. Visit a sports physio before you, if it's a leisure, still I would suggest, even for leisure, it's best to avoid injury, that you go and visit a sports physio. Just have a routine checkup. There would be some imbalances for sure. That is not a problem, but there shouldn't be something major that we don't even realize. At times you see people riding a bike, they are one, like the whole glute posture almost like tilted.
Right.
And they won't even realize it. But when you start running with a tilted
position,
it is not something that you will be comfortable with. So,
and that would lead to more number of injuries.
More injury, and it could worsen the situation. Is that way? You won't even realize it. And there are certain areas where if you get a fracture because of stress, a stress fracture, it takes huge time for recovery. So there shouldn't be any drastic things. And so one that. Second, a right type of shoes. Okay, these days, or probably before also, but there are a lot of narrow shoes that people wear. Okay, I'm not someone who will say that you should not wear a narrow shoes or something. It's to one's comfort. But when you're doing an activity which is forcing you, because you're very comfortable in that shoes, please do that. But post the activity, ensure that you mobilize your foot. Okay, and just make that foot back to the natural position, so that, because see, it's very simple. If you have your hand, if you're walking this way, it's the most stable. If you crook it this way, it is not going to be stable. That's it. So you need to ensure that right pair of shoes. Please try 4 to 5 shoes. Don't stick to one brand unless you're sponsored by that brand. Don't fix to one brand. Try different set of shoes. Invest money in the shoes if you are going to be a runner for long. Invest in right pair of shoes. Extra cushioning is good, but it's not required always. Okay, carbon plated shoes are definitely worth it, but you don't need that to train every day in this. Max, you can have your interval runs in a carbon shoes, but not your easy runs and normal runs, tempo runs also in the carbon shoes, not required. At the same time, be little, you shouldn't get shy of, अरे यार मैं इस दुकान में गया 4 shoes buy किए फिर भी नहीं buy कर रहा हूँ. Please don't buy if you don't like it. It's comfortable. If you like the one shoe, please don't stick to it also. Try 2, 3 and then only wear it. Okay. And if in spite of all these things, if one has an issue with some injury, visit a sports physio. The human body is such that they can get back to the posture that is required. Temporarily using insoles is good for the activity, but then that is only for the activity, not for the routine purpose. Post that, you need to ensure that you work on the techniques that you may not require the customized insole going forward. You know, when you are into that phase, till you reach that level, you can use that's my personal opinion, you should use the insoles so that you don't get injured, but that is only for the activity. Before and after the activity, work on the muscle so that you don't need an artificial insole to support your arch and all this. So yeah, you need to get used to it. I think I would have used a lot of shoes to get to a posture where it's there. And you may visit one sports physio, second sports physio, third sports physio, all are good, but at times to know the cause of the problem that you're facing is far more difficult than, you know, finding a solution. You know, unless you know the right cause, you will not get the solution as well. So, yeah.
Right, that's very much insight. I'm like speaking about each and every sport and what all things. That's really helpful to people who are going to listen to this. Okay, so coming to the next question, how do you plan and execute your race strategy, including pacing, nutrition, mental focus to achieve optimal performance in the Ironman races?
Correct.
And also speaking about the long distance cycling, ultra cycling.
Planning obviously goes as part of your training itself. So when you say about pacing, when you run a marathon for that matter, or even when you're doing an Ironman, when you start a swim, because there are so many people around you, the adrenaline is such that you will go above your pace. You know, it's bound to be. Like for example, the recent marathon, half marathon that I was running, I had targeted 145, sort of a 21 kilometer run, and but initial pace of mine was such that probably was way fast than what it was, because I was standing at the start where I had a lot of good runners around me and they were running at a very higher pace than what I had planned for myself, and I moved with them. But then I realized, no, I'm actually going way above what my threshold was. Then I stopped, and you won't believe, almost many of them I had overtaken at the second part of the marathon, because they got, you know, probably overpaced. So your question is actually a very important question, that how do you pace so that you don't do that one thing. First and foremost is your trainings should have a shorter version of the big races. And in that shorter version, you need to do a race pace effort. Okay, or probably a little beyond that. Okay, to understand what is your threshold. So, say for example, if you're running a 21 kilometer run, you should have a 15 kilometer run at least, because 21 is not something like an Ironman which has full plan 180. So you can afford to have a 15 kilometer as a training run, where you run a race pace, and you do that at least 4 to 5 times before the main A race of yours, you know, because you can't have every race as a race. So if you're training for 4 months, at least every month having 2 runs of 15. If you're already at that level, if you are building volume, then I will definitely not recommend you to go at 15 kilometers bang on, but have a race pace 15 and see how you're feeling it. If you feel after 15 kilometers that you're completely bonked, you're just dying to finish 15 kilometers, then you reduce the pace. The comfortable pace that you can hold for 15 kilometers. Comfortable pace that you hold for 15 kilometers, just go little less than that, probably 20% less than that for 21. That's how I usually do that. So if I run a 15k with say a pace of 4 minutes 45 minutes, 4 minutes 45 seconds for then I will go in 21 kilometers thinking that I should go around 5ish. That's how usually it should be. If I'm doing a cycling of 180 kilometers, then I'm in training, if I'm going a 120 150 kilometer at the speed of 35 kilometers, then for 180 I will target 33 32. That's it. I won't go, because I know I have to run after that. Right. So if you do a threshold sort of an activity, it's going to mess it up. So whatever is your threshold, the way I explained, at least 70% or 75% should be your race pace in for the longer distance. And if you think that that's going to be a slow one, in practice, well before the actual race, have the same distance of race and try targeting 100%. Then you will realize that actually it's not possible.
So it's just trial and error every time with
planning. Actually, it's not trial and error. It's planning. When you say that, because see, today when you're doing a practice run, you know what pace you're holding. Okay, you just don't know whether it's going to sustain for that distance or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running a 10k every day and you're going to run a half marathon, so you go till 15k try to go with that pace. It's all how you feel, the perceived effort that you're going to feel at that time. If you feel that okay, your heart rate for that matter is just above that what its usual is, you need to reduce the pace. You can't sustain that. And whatever is that, if you're comfortable after 15 kilometers with a pace hypothetically of 6 kilometers or 6 minutes per kilometer, then for 21 you can go by 6:20 but if you try to hold 6, then it may happen that after 15 kilometers you may start falling. So just thinking about that 10 seconds per kilometer won't make much of a difference. But if you get bombed, the time will fly and you won't even finish, in the time that you planned for 21.
Right. So coming to the threshold, if you've set already for yourself, you've already tried, tested, and before the event day, what if that threshold is not met on that event day? And people tend to be very anxious about those things, and at the same time, even might lose temperament of XYZ reason led me to not complete on my threshold. How to maintain the cool and calm in those situations according to you?
See, one is don't put self-pressure. People tend to put a huge amount of pressure, including myself as well. Because when you train good and you have been improving, you are excited about the race that's going to come. Because you are excited that you are going to have a blast in the race, you're going to perform awesome. Which is good, but it also puts a lot of pressure on you. So, and it is going to happen. The pre-race nerves are going to happen. No one can avoid that. It may so happen that before the race, most of the time you will not get the sleep also that you want. Because you keep on imagining the race in your mind. Right. That you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Keep on planning on the back of your mind. It's okay, it's going to happen almost with everyone. So that's also okay. The most important thing is when you start the race, just go as per your plan. If your plan is getting shaken up, you need to adapt. You can't be so harsh on yourself. See, again, we need to understand that even the top elite athletes, they work 4 years and go to Olympics for that one gold medal. And something beyond their control can happen where they're just not even there to finish it. It can happen. There could be like, by chance, you just have a incorrect start and you get disqualified. I think it is not intentional. It is something which is beyond that. It can happen. If at that level it can happen. That someone who's representing their country at Olympics can, then at our end we can be a little less harsh on ourselves. And the most important part is enjoy what you're doing right now. It is also a privilege. Because there are many people who are not able to enjoy this, either because of the time constraint, either because of the finance constraint or anything else. So just enjoy. That's it.
Okay. So coming to your own performance, how do you manage your race day anxiety? And also, are there any pre-race rituals which you would want to follow to perform at that threshold level which you set for yourself?
So in pre-race nerves are definitely there.
Okay.
And the only way I try to calm is one, to go to the washroom.
Okay.
And trust me, that's a very practical thing.
Right.
Okay. For a long endurance activity, that is, I think, always there in someone's mind. So one is that, so you need to wake up early. I at least, if it's a race that starts at 6:30, I will wake up at 2:45, 3 o'clock.
Okay.
First thing, wake up, go to the washroom, then eat. Because before race, you need to eat. And you need to eat at least 3 hours before that.
Okay.
Then caffeine is a ritual that I have. And I'm, touch wood, very comfortable with caffeine. I've got used to that particular thing. So that caffeine, and post that, I think the whole mobility workout that you do, warm-up that you do, but I do that at least 1.5 hours before the race. The major part of it. Just before the race is a very small brief, just to reactivate your muscles and all that stuff. But major part of it is that ritual. And then there is a part where you listen to a music that motivates you.
Okay.
It could be anything. Like, obviously, there was a time where I used to listen to Rocky songs. Rocky Balboa and Rocky 1, 2, 3. So he's training musics and all. Or in fact, recently during one of my best performance in triathlon came. Before that, I was hearing Lehrado song of '83 movie. Actually, because those songs pep you up, you know. So listening to a good music and avoiding going on social media has been something that I really, it has actually worked in my favor, pursuant to a lot of experiences that I would have had. Because at times on social media, you may come across something which is not the right thing that at that moment you need to come across, because it's very, very vast. And so I avoid that.
Okay.
And music definitely helps.
Okay. Okay. So according to you, the next question, what are some of the misconceptions which people hold when it comes to Ironman and ultra running or ultra cycling races?
See, in my personal opinion, people have that misconception that this is not something which is fit for your body.
Okay.
You know, you're doing training regularly, grinding yourself for all these things is not good.
Okay.
When you get old, your knees will have a problem, your this will have a problem.
Okay.
See, the point is, if you don't even train, it's still going to have a problem if the reason is different. The reason is you don't have a correct posture, or for that matter, a correct technique or correct way of training. You know, there is no structured training, then only this can happen. And is what pursuant to, you know, the fitness if this happens. Secondly, I think there are a lot of examples of people like Ironman World Championship. Is there for age groupers also. People at age of 84 have done Ironman World Championships. Okay, so they are an example. I'm not saying that you should do target that, all these things, but for me, if there is one person who can do that, means there is a hope that it can happen.
Exactly.
It's just that the journey should be very structured. You can't just
go haywire.
Trash your body.
Right.
You should not. You should love your body. You should see your body is one thing that's going to be with you throughout your life.
Right.
It's not money. It's not people around you. Nothing else. Right? It's just your body. And that's if it's not functioning, you are not functioning.
Right.
So if you take care of a body, go in a structured way, I don't think it will happen. So people having those myths, then people having the myth of, you know, heart related issues and all those stuff, again, that can happen anytime to anyone. It should not. But what's there in your hand is build your engine.
Right.
You know, work on it. Don't just again thrash your heart. Heart rate is one of the best method of you training. You know what your heart rate is. Even today I am continuously looking at what is my heart rate, because if I'm doing a hard workout, after half an hour, what is my heart rate? Is the heart coming back to normal? You know, so working on your recovery, heart rate and all those things. If you work all these things, then things which are in your control, you're doing it appropriately. Rest, it's obviously no one knows what's going to happen.
Okay. So, as a capital market professional, how do you manage your work life with your training? Of course, you might be having rigorous training hours
Correct.
and, you know, dedicating those amount of hours into your goals. How do you manage them?
See, I think one, you need to have a very supportive team in office, and I think I'm blessed to have a very good team in office. Secondly, what do you say? You need to accept that you're going to take a hit in your social life.
Right.
Okay. You need to sleep early.
Okay.
Okay. And so if I have to target sleeping at 10 o'clock or 10:30, my social life will take a hit. At the same time, you have to wake up early to put that hours that you want. So for that, many times you have to push yourself to wake up, because sometimes you will be excited to wake up, but sometimes you are not. But then discipline is something that will drive.
Right.
And discipline will come if you see results. For that, the initial 1-2 months is the struggle. If you push yourself and stand by yourself for that 1-2 months, then your results will give you the push that you want for waking up early. And then obviously you plan things around in such a way that you get time for this thing. Like, you know, you need to be structured at your work as well.
Right.
You need to be good at your work as well. And try to disassociate the mental stress of work and your training. At the same time, the training tiredness, you need to disassociate with your work so that you give an output. So you need to give both a huge amount of respect and you know, not juggle up both these things, and then only I think it can possible.
Right.
Okay, coming to your background into so much of endurance sports, injury would
Correct.
have been a part of
Correct.
your
Correct.
journey. So, in that case, how do you manage your injury prevention and management? How does that play a critical role when it comes to a regular regime in an athlete? And also, what is the exact recovery method? And in those recovery method, what role does nutrition play?
So to be very honest, I think one, obviously recovery is directly proportional to one, your age.
Right.
Secondly, your background. Now, when I say
Okay.
background is whether you have been in sports since childhood or not, or suddenly at the age of 30 you're planning to get into sports.
Right.
The recovery would, because your muscles' memory
Hmm.
is very sharp. Okay, like if you have been doing a particular activity since long, the muscle will recover fast because you have been doing that activity, and your muscle recovery is good because its memory is already there because of continuous banging on that particular
Right.
point. If you suddenly at 30 started, then your recovery would be slow. You need to understand, even after 5 years, your recovery wouldn't be the way it's there someone who started at 10-year-old. So for recovery, everyone it's different because of the different background they may have and different age at which they would be there, different targets that they have for themselves. Like an Ironman athlete would have a different level of recovery than a marathoner,
Right.
right? And so it's there. So recovery is definitely important. Key things that I take care for recovery is nutrition, the most important.
Right.
The amount of fluid that I take during the workout, after the workout.
Okay.
It has to be calculated. Second, what amount of protein I take.
Okay.
Okay. Third, what amount of muscle relaxation I do. Like for example, foam rolling.
Okay.
I do, I think, foam rolling almost every day. Every day, dedicated 10 minutes of foam rolling is there. It doesn't take much time because you know कि if it's a workout that has taken toll on your legs, you need to give them 10 to 12 minutes to do a foam rolling. It's not a tough job at all. And then foam rolling works. Massages. When
Okay.
you're closer to your race or when you're about to increase your volume, deep tissue massage.
Okay.
Again, it's very important who that person is who does the massage needs to know his work because you may end up damaging the muscle more if it's incorrectly done.
Okay.
Okay, so directly not going into deep tissue, but just gradually increasing the pressure, not directly at the top start, but over a period of time. And knowing who is doing that. So I have a person, Sanjay, he is doing my massage, I think, since last 4 years or 3.
Okay.
So he's there, so he knows my body type. He knows which muscles get tightened up faster and what pressure needs to be done. So that's very important. Cold water.
Okay.
Like ice bath is something that has worked for me. And so that's where swimming also recovery helps. Because if I'm doing a high intensity cycling or a running, I will have at least a 40-minute swimming if I can get that time for just to recover my body. It helps in recovery. So calf sleeves, recoveries, all these things are very useful. They are useful, just that if you don't have the finance to give it the backing to it, then cold water, foam roller is the cheapest recovery thing that you can buy.
Okay.
And it works wonder. Tennis ball works wonder on your foot. You just stand it in the mid area, just press it. You won't even realize that it was under pressure. See, when you're running, when you're cycling, your foot takes the majority. That is the contact point. And when you just roll a tennis ball appropriately, it's very important how you do that. The muscle really relaxes.
That time you realize how much tense they were. Right?
Yes. So tennis ball, foam roller, and cold bath, and obviously if you can have a good protein-rich diet, works best for recovery.
Right.
One thing people forget that they think that अभी मैंने workout कर लिया, अभी मैं कुछ भी खा सकता हूँ.
Okay.
If you end up eating junk food after workout, I think that will slow your recovery.
Okay.
So an appropriate diet, which should have carbs as well, which should have protein as well, is very important for recovery. So that is there. And if in case you feel tired a day, it's okay to skip a workout.
Right.
Don't be harsh कि यार कोच ने बोला है घंटे में हफ्ते में 15 घंटा करना है, 14 हो रहा है, नहीं आज मैं बहुत busy था meetings में, I missed one cycling, so tomorrow I will do cycling and running both.
Right.
You are inviting trouble.
That was my next question. So how should you plan your, training in that recovery procedure?
Correct. So again, one is obviously you need to know how you're feeling. See, it's good to have gadgets.
Right.
If you don't have gadgets, it's okay. You can feel your body very easily. Now you need to differentiate. That
Okay.
you are saying your body feel because it's tired, is because it's tired or because you're mentally tired.
Right.
At times things not going in your favor for some other reasons. It could be your personal, could be your office, could be something. You may feel that you're tired of doing a workout.
Right.
Doing for the workout. Now that may not be the case, because when you end up doing workout, you may actually forget what has happened.
Exactly.
It can work in your positive. So you need to know the differentiation between your tiredness of the workout and tiredness of XYZ reason. So that is one. Second, obviously you need to structure in such a way. For a triathlete, it's very important because it's 3 sports that you need to juggle
Right,
up.
right.
And in fact, I will add one more as strength and conditioning as well. So for me, I usually have one day a week as an off day, in which
Okay.
I either have a massage or I have a ice bath that I have, or I will have probably just a very easy rolling of 30 seconds without any power being put on the cycle, just to recover, because that easy pedaling also helps your body to recover.
Okay.
Or a easy 30-minute swim, very easy, not thinking about any what do you say, numbers and all those things, just an easy calming sort of thing. Or do a mobility workout, without any, those things can actually. So that's the Monday, that is the day, because
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday is a huge heavy workout
Yeah.
sort of thing. Then on Tuesday you may have a swim,
Hmm.
a longer swim and a shorter bike.
Okay.
Okay. Then on Wednesday you may have a longer bike session with a smaller run, or even if there is no run, it's okay, does not make a difference. Then next would be a run, sort of a thing. Then in the evening you may have a swim or may have a again recovery session. See, foam rolling I do almost 6 days a week. That just goes without saying. Then when you come to Friday, I think your nutrition kicks in very importantly, because you know that
Intense
Saturday, Sunday
weekend,
is going to be a
workouts.
huge one, so you need to plan it from Thursday evening onwards. So Thursday dinner and the Friday food is very important for your training on the weekend. And weekends are usually very heavy, so you have long rides and all this stuff. So it depends what race are you targeting, what is the time frame that's left. So you need to structure in such a way that you have 3 weeks of heavy workout, 1 week of an easy workout.
Okay.
That's the best way. So you increase your workout, say 70% threshold, 80% threshold, 90% threshold, then go down to 50. Then there's
gradual increase.
a gradual increase for 3 weeks. Then the 4th week a recovery week.
Right.
Then 3 weeks gradual, 4th week. That's all.
Okay. So many endurance athletes use technology, and technology has been a great advancement over the period of time.
Correct.
Okay, so in that case, how do you leverage technology in the preparation of your Ironman and ultra cycling events, and what tools have been proved to be beneficial to you in those terms?
Technology is definitely useful. Okay. But if you don't have it, it doesn't
Okay.
say that you can't get into all these things.
Right.
Your perceived effort is the most
Exactly.
important thing. But if you have something which is there, it's there for your advantage. Like, for example, heart rate. Obviously, everyone's heart is different.
Right.
Okay, necessary to note that if someone's heart rate is 140 and for the same run volume or cycling volume, swimming volume of yours being 170, may not make any sense of comparing, because the size of the heart, the way the heart functions of everyone is different. Someone with 140 may feel more tired than you may feel
Right.
at 160. Right, so it doesn't matter. It matters how your heart is conditioned to do a particular activity. So, say for example, if you're wearing a heart rate watch as well. So, today your watch will give an approximate number. It is give the technology a time to settle in, to understand, and you should observe your heart rate, how is it going over a period of time, to understand only after 1 month or 45 days will this technology actually be useful to you. Because you need to first understand your body dynamics, and then definitely it works, because heart rate monitoring is the best thing that can happen. Then say for example in cycling as well, power based workouts are very important. So for that, having a proper power meter, or for that matter direct drive, direct drive trainer, it's like at home itself, because at times when you're staying in the city, there are no proper roads for you to
Correct.
train. So a direct drive, a smart trainer can actually give you the feel closer to what it is on the road for a longer time. So at home itself, you have that setup. So you can have a structured working. So technology, I think smart trainer is one of the best things that would have happened. The heart rate monitor is another best thing that could have happened, which can take your level of performance to a very different level, which you may not even realize it. And I think one more thing on technology is that because of this technology, you can have good coaches which may not be around your area itself to connect with you,
Right.
who can give you a structured workout through technology itself, and you can do it even if you are very far. Like I know there are people whose coaches are there in US, in South Africa and all the stuff. They are coaching them in India, and so it's through technology you can do that. I think it's definitely beneficial.
More easily achievable.
Yes, and at times when you go into complexity of technologies, obviously you can see what your sweat rate is, what has been your sugar level, continuity, all these things are there currently, which is there for advantage. Is it must? May not. Depends upon your goal, depends upon the level that you are at. Not necessary just because someone who's an elite, where is a continuous monitoring of sugar level of theirs, you need to buy or invest that. You need to know where you need, because see, the sport is very expensive. So you need to know where to invest, what is required for you. It's simple. So if you have the budget, then definitely those all things are advantages.
Right. Okay. Hitesh, talking in terms of your experience in endurance sport, what are the key takeaways which you've got from the entire journey of self-endurance sports athletes, and what do you think that can help people to prepare and believe in themselves when it comes to tough competitions?
So I'll tell you, see, I was 113 kgs when I started. When my wife gave me this challenge, I was 113 kgs and I couldn't even cycle for 5 kilometers at that time. And so it's like someone with that level. And I traveled today to office, to and fro, collectively 2.5 hours goes only traveling in Mumbai.
Right.
And then you work with a high level of pressure, because working in capital markets is not something like more of a leisure sort of work. It's a very dedicated amount of work that you have. And then along with that, if I can achieve things that I have achieved, and I'm still aiming to achieve far more, and I'm still feeling that okay, I haven't even gone closer to what my potential is, then I think there are n number of examples that people can take from n number of people that it is possible. The thought of that it's not possible itself will not let you take the first step.
Right.
Trust the mechanism, trust the process. It is possible. If it's not possible, even if to the goal that you would have set, the journey itself will improvise you, will take you in a better place itself.
Right.
May not be say from first to, if you want to reach to 10, it will directly go to 10. It may go till first to, even it goes till 4, 5. You are coming from first to 4, 5 at least, right? So trust the process. It is possible. Unrealistic goals don't set up for yourself. Have smaller milestones, because every milestone will give you the motivation to go to the next milestone.
Right.
And be easy on yourself. I think the most important learning that I have had with endurance is this thing itself, that one, that you will never know your potential, because your potential will keep on improving.
Right.
Okay, so you just never know. Like, there was one speech by Elliot, where he said that scientists had told that no human person can actually run a full marathon under 2 hours, and he has done that. Right. So no one knows the potential. And no one would have expected also that someone will actually run a marathon under 2 hours.
Right.
And he has done that. So it's like, he also, I don't know whether he would have knew that he has that potential.
Right.
So one is you keep on increasing your potential and be a realistic, don't be harsh on yourself. I think life will always have highs and lows. That's what I have felt, that life has always had highs and lows, and enjoy the highs. keep taking step during your lows. That's it.
Correct.
It's everyone's part and parcel of life.
Also, getting those small milestones achieved would be a sense of achievement and
Yes,
proud that
yes.
okay, at least I've done this much. I
Correct.
might complete that.
And don't compare yourself with others. बाहर से सब लोग बहुत अच्छे दिखते हैं. सबका Instagram profile is always very good. It's very different reality.
Exactly.
It's simple.
Very true. Okay.
And to be very honest, social media is hugely influential, both positive as well as negative ways.
Right.
So you need to understand which one you should pick up, which one you can't. You can't avoid. I'm not saying do. You should be on social media. Is my personal call. It's obviously good, but you need to know what to pick, what not to pick. And the artificial intelligence is such that because you will specifically search for certain things, it will keep on showing you those things only.
In fact, more number of things.
More number of things. So if you are low, it will keep on showing you those things.
Mm.
If you are high, keep on showing us. So it's very important what you search.
Yeah.
And keep on clearing your history,
Right.
search history, so that you can start a new phase.
Great. So Hitesh, what are your future goals and expectations from yourself, and what we might see in your future you achieving?
The first target that I have is to get myself qualified for Ironman World Championship.
Okay.
70.3 Ironman World Championship. I think this year would be critical for me to, because I think this is the first year where I feel that okay, I am on the right path towards achieving the goal which I am targeting. So yeah, hopefully it works out.
Okay.
That's the first and
We
foremost.
hope the best wishes for you to come.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Lastly, before we end this podcast, what advice would you like to give to individuals who are aspiring to get into the tough competitions, be it at the beginner level or are planning to return to sport
Correct.
procedure or the process? What would you like to advise them?
One is be open.
Mm-hmm.
Speak to people that you are comfortable with. Speak
Right.
to people that you trust. Don't trust everyone, but
Right.
speak to people you trust.
Mm-hmm.
They will guide you appropriately.
Okay.
And trust yourself, because there is a huge. So my chachu always tells me, and he tells me since when I was in college days, and I always keep that in my mind for myself, and it has worked wonders for me, that the human body has a huge potential
Right.
to come back from almost everything.
Mm.
Yeah, that's how it is. Obviously, some things are not. I won't say everything is possible, but practically, what is possible, human body can do that easy.
Mm.
And trusting that, I think everyone should obviously work towards it. But trust people. There are good people in the market who can guide you. If you don't take appropriate guidance,
Mm.
you will just keep beating left to right, left to right, and you will not reach the destination or your full potential.
Right. Right.
That's how it is. Like today, for example, if I can quote, if there is Google Maps,
Mm-hmm.
we know where we have to go.
Exactly.
Otherwise, भैया ये रास्ता किधर है, अच्छा ये किधर है, it is unnecessary time wasted, unnecessary hassle. You end up taking wrong turns, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is someone to guide today, you actually go
Life is
with
more
it.
easier.
Very easier, and you achieve your goal
Exactly.
in a very smoother way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people should definitely seek guidance for the right people.
And taking help is of no harm.
No harm, and don't even think just because you have taken help, say for example from someone,
Mhm.
then you are smaller than that person.
Exactly.
Not at all.
That feeling should be
Yes.
off when you are going and opening up
Correct.
to people.
Correct. But then you need to be practical, that if someone is not responding in a correct way, you
Mhm.
need to choose right people. But there are a lot of right people.
Right. And people would be interested or happy
Yes.
to help when it comes to belonging in that same community or
Correct.
culture.
Correct.
That would never be a problem.
See, because those people have also gone through lows.
Exactly.
And today they are at some place where they feel they have something to fall back on if they are again low. I won't say they are at high only, because you will always have high and lows in your life.
Exactly. Right.
Today, if I am low, I know I can go back and do a workout which will, bring me, at least divert my mind from something which is keeping me low.
Right. Right.
So that's how it is. And yeah, people can definitely, I think, unleash their potential. And it's not necessary that you get into competitive sporting itself.
Right.
If you want to go into competitive sporting, the first and foremost thing is get a coach.
Okay.
At least to begin with, unless you know everything,
Mhm.
it's very difficult. But if you have a coach, that's one of the best thing that you can do it. Second, even if you don't want to go to a competitive sporting, but getting a sports culture for your future, not your, when I say your future, it is you and your family future. It is very important that you get into something, because your mind would always be ready for lows. That's what it is.
And highs and lows goes hand in hand. It depends on us how we take the lows and how
Correct.
we manage highs, because highs might sometimes get into our heads and
Yes.
lead to different situations at times.
Definitely. Lows will keep you grounded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Many thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Till then, stay fit, stay strong, and race above.